We're going to continue our fascinating discussion of the Mishnah in the second chapter of Masechet Shabbat. Let's just quickly review the Mishnah. B'mei madlikin, b'mei an madlikin, en madlikin lo b'lechish, v'lo b'chosen, v'lo b'chalach, v'lo b'betilat yidan, v'lo b'betilat midbar, v'lo b'rokesh shel pnei hamayim, v'lo b'zefet, v'lo b'shava, v'lo b'shemen kik, v'lo b'shem esrefa, v'lo b'aliyah, v'lo b'chelev, v'lo b'nachum madi omer, madlikin b'chelev mushal, v'chacham omrim, echad muvashal, echad she'en muvashal, en madlikim bo. Mishnah said, with what may one light the Shabbat lamp, and with what may one not light it? First, the Mishnah talks about prohibited wicks. One may not make a wick with cedar bast, lechesh, or with uncombed flax, chosen, or with raw silk, kalach, nor with willow bast, ptilat yidan, nor with desert weed, ptilat midbar, nor with green moss that is on the surface of the water. With regard to the types of prohibited oils, one may neither light with pitch, zephet, nor with wax, shava, or castor oil, which is semen kik, nor with burnt oil, shemen serfa, nor with fat from a sheep's tail, that's aliyah, nor with tallow, which is chelev. Nachum, the Mid from Medea, in the Baltic, Black Sea area, says, one may light with boiled tallow. And the rabbis say both tallow and boiled, that was boiled and the tallow was not boiled, and boiled fats, right? One may not light with them. So, the one thing, I don't want to talk about Amud Bet right here, except the one thing that I thought was truly, in terms of linguistics, it was truly interesting, is that, we have a Persian word of like gushkara and pranda, Persian words for gushkara is from the Persian kushkar, gushkara, kushkar, you see the similarity. It's the same root. A lot of Persian words and Greek words and Latin words come into the Gemara. The Babylonian sages, they lived in Babylonia. And Babylonia had a lot of, the Alexander the Great had conquered it once, and who else? The Persians. Even though the sages didn't really speak Persian so much, they did actually use the Persian terms that were extant in their world. So gushkara is, what does it mean? Kushkar, the coarse flour that is full of bran, but it was also meant a low quality kind of silk fabric, like the lowest grade silk fabrics. Shira, what's shira? Shira sounds like song, right? Shin Yud Resh Aleph. No, shira actually comes from it's an Aramaic word for silk. But apparently it comes from the Chinese by way of the Greek word sirikon. Sirikon is Greek for silk, but it's not actually, sirikon in Greek comes from shira in one of the ancient Chinese dialects, perhaps even today. So we have Chinese words in the Talmud. I find that way cool. So anyhow, we're going to go back to, let's say, lo b'zefet. Zefet is zifta, shava, kirut. We learned in the Mishnah, one may not use zefet or shava as a fuel in lighting the Shabbos lamp. The Gemara explains that zefet is pitch and shav is wax. It was taught in the Braita. Tana, ad kan psul tilot. So up until now in the Mishnah, before it mentions zefet, it's talking about what's forbidden from using as a wick. Why? Again, as an introduction, the laws. First, there's two things about Shabbos. One is lo tevar eish b'kol moshvotechem. You're not supposed to burn fire in any of your habitations. From Exodus, which chapter? Chapter 35. It's one of the basic verses of not using fire. We don't light fire, we don't extinguish fire, we don't transfer fire, and we don't use substances that have the same characteristics of fire that burn, such as electricity. In other words, we can keep a fire lit all Shabbos. You just cannot do anything to cause that burning on the Shabbos, right? So the other thing is the book in his book of Isaiah, in chapter 58, it says many of the it discusses Shabbat, Shabbos, Shabbat. I'll be using interchangeably. Live with it. So, v'karata l'Shabbat oneg l'kadosh Hashem mechubad. It says, you shall call the Shabbat to delight, the holy of the honorable God. So, what's a delight? A delight is certainly not when you're sitting in the dark. So we need Shabbos candles. We need lights and lighting candles. It's festive, right? Make a meal, make a party. So that's Shabbos. So the other thing is just the wind of the pages of the Gemara is very pleasant on my face. And oneg, what's oneg Shabbos? Where do we find this in the book of Genesis? Oneg Shabbos. Well, oneg is ayin nun gimel. Ayin is the first letter in the word for oneg, delight. The aspect of keter, according to Chabad Hasidus. Nun is the first word for nahar, river. Nun is the first letter of the word for river, nahar. And gimel is the first letter in the word for gan, or garden. Nahar yatsa me'eden lashkot et gan. A river flowed forth from Eden to water the garden. That's called oneg. That is one of the secrets of the Zohar, the meaning of which you won't find here, or perhaps, and I don't think you'll find it anywhere on the internet. What the secret of oneg and the creation is. However, if you come to Jerusalem and fast for 300 days and to go to the natural springs and immerse yourself and purify yourself and study the law night and day for like 300 days, then maybe we'll talk. I might know somebody who could help you out and hook you up. Anyhow, so oneg is Eden. It's from Garden of Eden. Was oneg the river that flew forth from Eden to water the garden? Nahar yatsa me'eden lashkot to the gan. That's oneg, and the ikar oneg that we have these days is Shabbos. If it wasn't for Shabbos, what would we be? We'd just be like a bunch of working stiffs in a factory somewhere, and some kind of forgotten area of Tennessee. Could of course be redeveloped and made into quite a nice neighborhood. However, back to the Gemara. So oneg Shabbos. So we're talking about pitch and wax. So the only part of the oneg Shabbos is the candles. We need to know what can we make the wicks out of, and what we can use as oils. What are proper oils or substances for burning the Shabbos candles? So one of them you can't use is zephyr. Why? Because you burn it and it stinks. Anyhow, what is the first we have to identify zephyr? Zephyr is pitch, and what is shavaz? Wax. Wait a second, everybody has Shabbos candles made of wax. What's the problem? Well, in the Breita, up to this point, the word zephyr in the Mishnah is dealing with disqualification of materials used for the wicks. This point now we're dealing with disqualification of substance used for oils. So the Gemara asks, obviously, a wick cannot be made from pitch. You ever try making a wick from tar? Similar materials. So, I don't know with modern technology, but still, the Gemara answers, in the old days they didn't make wicks from tar. So the Gemara answers, it was necessary. So the question was, why do you need to even teach that a wick can't be made from pitch? Obviously you can't make a wick from pitch, according to the standards of the Babylonia of 1,700 years ago. So, Gemara says no, because we mentioned wax and pitch together. And You might have made a mistake and thought that I will not be able to coat the wax. I won't be able to coat the wicks with wax, but because it's forbidden for me to coat the wicks with pitch, because they're mentioned together, they're both forbidden. So it teaches us to say that it's actually not the case. Amar Rami Barabin, Itrana psulta de zifta shava psulta de duvshana. Rami Barabin said tar is the byproduct of pitch. Oh, I forgot to mention, this whole class is dedicated to the memory and the loving memory of Dov and Yokheved Rotenburg, of blessed memory. They were, I believe, 2 Hungarian Jews who escaped the war and moved to the New York area, and I believe also spent some time in the land of Israel. Two great people, and this class is dedicated to their memory and Aliyat Neshama. So they should go up like a candle on the Shabbos candle, each and every year, each and every day. So Amarav Aben Itrana Psulta. So Itrana, tar, it's the byproduct of pitch. When wood is burned to extract pitch, a clear liquid oozes out after the pitch, and that's called tar. Similarly, shava psulta deduvshana. Similarly, wax is the byproduct of honey. Now this is puzzling. You never would think of wax as the byproduct of honey. Lamai nafkamina, but what's the practical difference between that emerges from this teaching of Rami Bar Avin? It has a difference with regards to business. When one buys tar, one who buys tar, he can insist upon receiving the byproduct of pitch and no other material. The same is true regarding with wax and honey. I want honey wax and I don't want any other kind of wax. There are other kinds of waxes besides honey wax. Taner Rabbanan. So it teaches a law of business. Taner Rabbanan, you can stipulate this kind of thing, and if you've made such a stipulation, then if you get the wrong product, then the sale is nullified. Taner Rabbanan, Kol elu she'amru ein madlikin behen b'Shabbat, aval osin mehen medura, ben lihitchamem kenegda, ben litchamem b'ora, ben al gabei karka, ben al gabei kira. Lo asru ela lasot mehen tila lener bilvad. We now have a Tosefta with regards to all of the materials about which they said you can't light the lamp on the Shabbos. However, one may use them. If you can't use them for a Shabbos candle, but you may use them for a bonfire. Whether you want to warm up by them, use them for light. Whether you want to you put it on the ground, or put it on use it as a stove, or put it on the stove. They prohibited them only. These materials only prohibited when you're talking about the wick from an oil cruiser or a Shabbos lamp. Okay. V'lo b'shem and kik. We learn the Mishnah, one may not light in Shabbos lamp with kik oil. What's kik oil? My shem and kik. Amar Shmuel. She'el tinhu l'kol nechuti yama v'amru of echad yesh becharchei hayam v'kik Shmuel. Shmuel, again, he's a man of the world. He's going around. He wants to know what exactly these substances are, because it's not just about books. It's not just about relying on hechsherim. He was the real deal. Shmuel was the leader, and he said, I want to know what my community and the Jewish communities can use to make the very, very important mitzvah of the Shabbos wick and the Shabbos candle. So he went to the stevedores, and he went to the old tars by the sea, or by the Tigris or Euphrates. He went to all the ones who were, maybe he went as far as the Gulf of Aden, as far as I know, Persian Gulf. He was in the area of the Persian Gulf. He may very well have gone down to the Persian Gulf to ask there. We don't know. He asked all of the seafarers that he could find, and then I'm extrapolating a wee bit, and then one old wizentar, and they all said, "Get out of my face, Rabbi," or perhaps they were more polite and said, "We do not know." And so one old Wizentar said, "My dear sage, I'll tell you. There's a bird, and the city is on the sea. And Kik, it's its name. It's the Kik bird. And it makes a call like this." And if you think I'm going to imitate a bird call, you're crazy. So he said, "V'Kik Shmo." Rav Yitzchak Berei de Rav Yehuda. So the Kik. There's no mention of a zoological reference for a Kik here. It's a kind of bird, according to the old Tar. Rav Yitzchak Berei de Rav Yehuda Amar Mishcha de Kaza. Rav Yitzchak son of Yehuda said, talking about cotton oil. Rish Lakish said, it's oil made from the seed of a plant like the castor plant, the kikayon. The castor plant is the Ricinus communis. It's a plant of diverse shapes. It can be an annual plant, a bush, or a tree. Its height ranges from 1 to 4 meters. Its stalks are erect and branch out at the top with large leaves that are divided into fringe-like lobes. Castor oil, used for medicinal purposes, produced from the seeds of this plant, which is cultivated for this purpose. So go to your naturopath and ask what you to use for castor oil, and say, "I would like oil from the kikayon mentioned in the book of Jonah." Okay, anyhow. So, and that's what the Gemara says. Rav Yitzchak Berei de Rav Yehuda Amar Mishta de Kaze. It's the oil of the castor, the kikayon. Reish Lakish Amar Kikayon di Yona. It's the kikayon mentioned in the book of Yonah. Amar Rabba Bar Bar Chana. Rabba Bar Bar Chana said, "The Didi Chazuli Kikayon di Yona. My friend showed me the castor plant of Yonah. V'litzloliva dame." And it's similar to the Ricinus tree. The Ricinus tree. Litzloliva is the Ricinus. It's similar to that. Umidifshke rave. And it grows in swamps. Valpum chanuta madlan yate. And it's placed in the entrance of shops. Mipartzidohi avdi mishcha. And they produce oil from its seeds. Uva'anafohi naichan kol bariche de marava. And all of the sick people of the land of Israel rest beneath its branches. So, the castor plant of Yonah, the kikayon, it's a segula from Rabbi Bar Bar Chana to sit under its branch and enjoy from any sickness to achieve perfect health. Amar Rabba. He didn't say perfect health, he said it's a healing method. Okay. Amar Rabba. Petilot she'amru chachamim en madlikim behem Shabbat mipnei sha'or mesachsechet behem shmanim she'amru chachamim en madlikim behem mipnei she'en nimshachin achar petilah. Rabba said, when the sages said you can't light with it on Shabbos, it said because the fire flickers. Doesn't burn well. Then the oils the sages said you can't light with, says because they're not drawn from the wick. Ba'minei Abaya mirab. Abaya asked a question from Rabba. He said, Shmanim she'amru chachamim en madlikim behem b'Shabbos ma'u she'yitem l'tochan shemen kol shuv v'yadlik. So he said, these things, the oils that we are not permitted to use as oils on the Shabbos candles, what about mixing them with an admixture of oils that we can use? even a small amount. What if we put a tiny amount of a permitted oil? Would that be enough? Migazrinan dilma ate laadluke be'enaihu. Do we issue a decree lest you come to light these oils in their natural form? In other words, are these forbidden even in a mixture of a tiny bit of a permitted oil, like olive oil, for instance, and shemen, a lot of shemen kik, and a little bit of olive oil, is that forbidden because somebody might come along and eventually just use the shemen kik without the olive oil? Or dilma atel adluke benai or lo, or perhaps not. So that was the question Abaye asked from Rabbah. Rabbah answered him back, Ein madlikim. My time lifi she'ein madlikim. You can't do it. Why? Because the halach is you can't do it. It's a forbidden substance, and it doesn't matter if it's in a mixture or not. You can't use that forbidden substance. Will eventually be used in the drawn up the wick and be used for the Shabbos light, and it'll cause a Jew to do transgress the law of Shabbat. The Aruch explains. Many explanations are given this cryptic answer. Why is it forbidden? Because it's forbidden, right? It's cryptic, right? Some commentaries said a variant reading. They said because they do not light. Rabbah said that because these oils don't ignite even in a mixture with other oils. It's not because it's not a question of a forbidden material and it's just that's the law and the law is the law kind of thing. No, that's a possible answer. Possible answer. It makes sense that eventually, if it does light, eventually he'll be using a forbidden substance, which would be. But the point of the reason why it was forbidden is because it doesn't light well. So that's not a good answer. So it doesn't light well, and in terms of physics, it just won't mix. Look at the Rambam and look at the Meiri. So others say that it's based on a gezerah, because you can't use them in their pure form, like all of this mentioned in the Mishnah. The sages said prohibited using them even when they're mixed with other oils. So Rashi and Rosh, Rashi and the Rosh. Yet others say that they're disqualified oils. These disqualified oils are not drawn by the wick in a mixture. It doesn't go up the wick, like I kind of suggested earlier. The high quality oils would be drawn first, and then the prohibited oils wouldn't even burn at all, according to Rabbeinu Hananel and the Gaoni. So it was a very practical reason. It wasn't some kind of like legal abstract reason. As I'm exhausted, we're going to pause here, and Mirz Hashem and Motzi Shabbos continue. Have a good Shabbos, be well, light your Shabbos candles, good kosher Shabbos candles, and enjoy the light with Oneg Shabbos, and may your river flowing from the garden, water flowing from Eden, water your garden too, and for the ascension of the neshama of Yokheved and Dov Rotenburg, may their place in the upper Eden be secure with the light of all of our Shabbos candles down here below.